In the 2.5 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion, countless Ukrainian neighbourhoods have been decimated or displaced. Now it is Russian residents being ordered to leave their homes. Around 120,000 have been evacuated since Ukraine began its surprise incursion across the border 1 week ago. It's thought its troops have since advanced miles into the Kursk region, pushing into the aggressor's territory, as President Zelensky put it at the weekend. A much-needed morale boost for his nation, for sure. For the Kremlin, though, it is humiliating, to say the very least. President Putin's top security officials had the unenviable task of telling him today that nearly 30 Russian settlements have fallen. The key question, clearly, what does Moscow do next? The Kremlin has vowed to drive out its enemy, but at what cost to its hard-won gains elsewhere?
For Russia's citizens, a taste of the bitter medicine their own army has been serving up in Ukraine. Emergency rations for thousands as they're forced to flee ahead of invading forces. In Kursk, the air raid sirens sound, and this woman told local television her car was blown up and she was injured by debris. In neighbouring Belgorod, the governor himself supervised the exodus. The Russian people were promised a war of swift conquest, not rapid retreat. No wonder there's a spring in the step of Vladimir Zelensky, who officially acknowledged the incursion for the first time, as his commander-in-chief claimed they now control almost 400 square miles of Mother Russia. By contrast, grim faces in Moscow as Vladimir Putin ordered his army to drive out what he called terrorists and saboteurs. But Ukrainians still have free run of the Kursk town of Sudza, according to this verified social media post. And one Russian official admitted, "We don't even know where all the enemy combat units are."
Not since the Second World War has a foreign army taken such a bite out of Russia. Ukraine has staked several thousand of their best-equipped crack troops. They've advanced up to 20 miles over the border, along a front line almost 30 miles wide. So far, 121,000 Russian civilians have been evacuated in the Kursk region, and another 11,000 from Belgorod, after drone attacks that suggest Ukraine's forces are close. The prize is to change the bigger picture, to divert Russian forces away from the east and from the south, where they've been making ground on Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, key Ukrainian cities, to draw the Kremlin's forces out of the invasion of Ukraine and into the defense of Russia.
At some point, the Russians will have to bring in units that are good enough to throw out the good units that the Ukrainians have got there. So I think this battle will become fierce. At some point, the Ukrainians will try, I'm sure, to withdraw in good order. When that will be, I'd say we'd measure that in days and weeks only. We won't measure it in months.
The stakes are high on both sides. But for the first time, it is fighting inside Russia that could help determine Ukraine's fate.
And John is here to talk about all this. Look, an audacious move, we can agree, seems to be going well as far as the Ukrainians are concerned. But what do they do next? I mean, what do they want with this territory?
Well, look, they've been there a week, Tom, and as far as anyone can tell, they are still expanding their operations, and I think that itself tells you quite a lot. But look, they haven't crossed the border to boost morale at home, though that's useful. They haven't crossed the border to send a message to America, we can win, though that is a useful message to send in an election year. It is, I think, this particular strategic game to try to draw crack Russian troops away from the east, where they are winning, up to the north to fight them in Kursk. And that's where the calculated risk is, because, of course, the Ukrainians only have a certain amount of elite troops themselves, and they've taken them away from the Donbass to push into this pocket of Russian territory. You know, Putin said today that he's going to redouble his efforts in the Donbass. Is that just talk? Is he right? Could it be a nightmare scenario for the Ukrainians? They get caught there, they lose Kursk, and they lose in the Donbass. That's a disaster. but it's a long way away. I think what we can say tonight is, from a Kyiv point of view, so far, so very good. From a Moscow point of view, so far, so very, very bad indeed.